Greetings, everybody. Welcome to week 7. There we go. Which is all about OFUL. We are continuing talking about sustainability, full usage, right? Reducing waste. As we mentioned last week, Chef Bryce is going to be that new voice you're hearing on the other side. Chef Rich has departed us for another class. And some of you, not everybody, but I think actually almost all of you will be in CU222WEEK with us, which is following right after this class. So a lot easier for us, like I mentioned, to have class all together back to back as opposed to splitting it in the afternoon and the evening. You know, who wants to go to school twice in one day when we can do it once, right? So, and of course, there's always the archive. So if you can't make it, watch the archive. And then all you want to do is follow up with us with a message. If you have a question, if something wasn't clear, that's what everybody else does who can't make the evening sessions. If they watch the archive, they come back and say, hey, I'm confused about reducing water in establishments. How do we do that, right? Whatever the question might be. So, obviously, week 6 will be should be mostly finished up from with Chef Greg's feedbacks. If not, you will be hearing from Chef Bryce and myself from feedback from this part on. So we've just had a slight change in the structure of classrooms. And so now you'll be getting feedback from us. So obviously, if it's a little bit different, that's because we're all different and every chef is going to have their different point of view and their different perspective. What we're always all adhering to, though, are those main requirements, right? We want to see that self-ID. We want to see sanitizer, right? Sanitation with label and date. We want to see, you know, that mise en place. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but I would assume also on Chef Bryce's behalf. Mise en place means everything in its place. If you have stuff sitting in containers that's not measured out, I'm not going to be giving you credit for mise en place. That is not mise en place. You are not ready to go. If you're working on a line in a restaurant and chef walks by and says, "Oh, you've got your station set up." "Oh yeah, chef, I've got it." And you have a pile you know, a pile full of peeled garlic cloves. They're not minced, they're not sliced, they're not ready to go. And you start getting orders in. Now you have to start mincing garlic before you can start sauteing, right? You're not ready to go. You're going to slow up the entire process. So mise en place, guess what? It helps you work cleaner. It helps you work more efficiently, more effectively. And guess what else that ensures? You've read the recipe, okay? It's important to read that recipe once, twice before you do it, especially when it's something new, right? Otherwise, oh, it's easy to forget. Oh man, week 6, was I supposed to peel those potatoes first? Or was I supposed to boil them with the peels, then peel them, right? Mise en place helps you remember that order of operations, how you're gonna execute that dish. So mise en place has a lot more to it. So just heads up, all right? And Frida, don't look nervous. You're fine, okay? I'm just letting you all know that that's what real proper mise en place is, right? So let's do it. Let's continue to work on plating. I want to see all of you upping your skill set and your game on plating, right? And trying. Something sometimes that helps, sketching it out. Even if you're not a good good artist, get a blank piece of paper, think about how you would put it, right? Plate it out. Those are the first steps in learning how to plate. Does my protein go here or here? Remember? Where am I going to put the starch? How am I going to put this? What color is going to catch me? All right, cool.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say on presentation, don't be afraid to try something new. I mean, that's why we're here. We want you guys to be creative, try new things. You know, we're not going to dock points if you try something new. We're just going to critique it and help you along the way to make sure you're making these dishes beautiful. It's okay to try new things. That's, you know, keep it fresh, keep it new. That's why we're here. So don't be afraid as well.
Definitely don't be afraid. I think messing stuff up is the best way to learn. Absolute best way. Because then you realize, you know what, next time I'm not going to do that because it didn't work, okay? And it's great. And so then maybe you mess it up again. And that's also okay. Failing is a huge part of learning and being successful. So did anybody have any questions on week 6? Yeah, Frida.
I did. So I was thinking a lot about I did a little research on the waxy, starchy potatoes, the difference, and that was really, I'm glad I did that. But I noticed, I did a little research on the cooking of the potatoes for a potato salad. And I think always in the past, I've overcooked the potatoes. So I pulled them I steamed them, which I've never done before. And then I pulled them al dente. And I got to thinking about that, why you do that. Because when you first eat them, they need to sit a little bit in that. It's almost like a vinaigrette, really, the
Yes.
dressing. But I could see where if you left that overnight, it would break it down even more. So I really thought a lot about all that this time, more than I ever have. And I've made potato salad a lot. But that was really cool in that sense.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear about that. What were some of the main takeaways that you learned about the difference between starchy and waxy? Remember we covered, yeah.
Well, okay, so I really realized that there's lots of things that you would do with a russet that a russet would probably break down. Like one of my favorite dishes is the pommes dauphinoise, and I don't think a russet would hold up. It would turn to mush, the texture. And I had no idea that the skins would be so delicious. I thought, oh, they're going to be so thin, I won't even be able to really get a good peel out of it. But man, I really had to slap my husband's hand and say, "Don't eat all those. I gotta take a picture." But that is it really seemingly simple. It really kind of blew my mind. All that waste that I really do with those potatoes. I will make sure I use those skins from now on. But
Awesome.
just really how much moisture and how much starch is in the difference between the waxy and um, the other potato. So it was just the uses really and how they break down. I really like that science of that.
Awesome. I love it. I love your experience. That is absolutely fantastic. That's what it's all about, right? You start to see, okay, you know, this is making more sense, right? That waxy potato, right? It holds up, like you're saying. So a starchy potato, what do we know about a starchy potato? Less moisture, right? And when you dry that out, it can suck in that moisture. So starchy potatoes, great for pomme puree, right? Because it can hold on to more butter, cream, and fat. It takes it on, it absorbs it, right? That waxy potato, not going to absorb as much of that butter and cream when you're adding into it, right? Because it already has a different structure component and has more moisture in it. So yeah, this is how it starts. That's how you start to know, hey, if you're trying to make a soup, right? Say you want to make a type of chowder, what type of potato do you want to use? Do you want that potato to retain its texture and shape? Or is it okay if it breaks down a little bit? Do you want that? Is it a more rustic soup? Right? It's all about those different ways of how you can see how you apply the varieties of potato or technique. So awesome. Bravo. Love it. Cool. Sweet. Anybody else have anything to share? Rocking and rolling. All right. So this week we're moving strong into the world of offal. Does anybody know what offal is? Has anybody heard of it? No. Okay.
It's your livers and so forth inside the animal.
There you go. Exactly. Livers, heart, brain, lung, intestines, stomach. Now it also will go into include tongue, tails, ears, right? Basically the ons and ends, the pieces that once you remove the main muscle parts of an animal, right? When we think about animals, right? All animals have offal first and foremost, okay? They also have their muscle components, which are their larger pieces of meat that we think about that are commonly used, and bones, right? What else does an animal have? We have it too. And it's really good when you fry it up. Not the human variety, but Brain, yeah, brain is delicious. What else? It's the largest organ, covers everything.
Skin.
Skin, yeah, skin. Chicharrones, cracklins, right? Who's ever had fried pork skins, chicken skin? Yeah. Talk about frying up, you want to take potato skin, think about chicken skin or pork skin, taking that to the next level, right? Again, utilization. Okay, so way back in the day, offal really technically meant, if you look back in like old English, it says it means all fall. So anything once you would hang the animal up, slice it open, all fall. All the offal falls from this end. So that's all of those organs, okay? But like I said, it has come to include many other things. A tongue, right, is considered in the offal category, but the tongue is a muscle, okay? The heart is also a muscle, right? But it's also offal. Now, who's ever had hot dog, sausage, anything like that? I'm talking about, it could be an all beef. It doesn't have to be a pork hot dog, but all beef hot dog, some type of sausage. Yeah, kielbasa, bratwurst. What else? Who's at kobasica, right? Who's had it? Sweetbreads in Argentina? Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. So guess what? Odds and ends, bits and pieces, those are going into sausages. Who knows what's one of the best things about what happens when you bite into a sausage? What are you looking for? The snap on the skin. Boom, Frida. Frida's on fire today. Yeah, exactly. I want that snap, right? I want that snap. Who knows what the original casings of sausages were and why you get that great snap?
The intestines.
Intestines, yes, exactly. So, how do we think this all goes back to farm to table sustainability, full waste reduction? Using all parts of the animal. Yeah, exactly. Waste not, want not, right? Because if we were to take all those scraps, right? Scraps, and throw them away, guess what happens? Cost of our main cuts of our bones, our muscles, our bones increase, right? Because let's just take a cow or a chicken, right? That one chicken weighs a certain amount. Once you remove the skin, you remove the organs, you're reducing it, right? The actual quantity. You can take that waste product and turn that into profit. Now we're talking. So I want to pull up a few other photos of offal to get your mind thinking. Who knows what's before we go there, what do we think is really special about offal, in the sense that you guys just came from cuisines of the world. What do you think is unique about offal? Think about offal and then the world connection. What do you think?
Well, I mean, culture is a huge thing across the world. So, offal can be a delicacy. Yeah, I mean, all parts are utilized in the world. That's great, Elizabeth. It's different delicacies, different cultures. It can all go all the way into religion for different certain parts. Have that religious effect or medicine effect as well. So, all sorts of different cultures appreciate different parts of the animals as well. So.
Exactly. Thank you, Chef. Okay. Sorry. I was just pulling up a few extra photos to get everybody excited about offal. So here's a photo of a delicious looking soup. Has anybody ever heard of menudo? Frida, you're laughing. What do you know about menudo?
Isn't it used to cure hangovers?
It is used to cure hangovers. That's why Frida's
That's why Frida was
laughing.
laughing. I saw.
Oh, now I get it. Okay, okay. What else do we know about menudo?
It's made with tripe usually, and
What's,
pig.
yeah,
Usually, it's the pig parts of the pig's stomach
yeah,
and intestine, and
yes.
it's delicious. Usually, traditionally, it's only served usually on the weekends, like Saturdays and Sundays at classic places.
Yeah, because people have been partying and they need that hangover cure, right? So what is tripe? What is tripe? Does anybody know? I'm going to pull that up. So tripe is what this honeycomb looking part in the soup. I'm going to pull up a visual of it so that everybody knows. What is tripe? Does anybody know what tripe is? Some other photos of it. And what do you think what do we think just by looking at it? How do we think we might need to cook this?
It takes a while to cook it. It's the inner linings of the stomach.
Awesome. Way to go. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we've got stomach here. We've got tripe, right? Here's another one. Here's another way for using tripe. Tripa alla fiorentina, right? A classic dish from Italy. Slowly braised with tomato sauce, right? This is rich and hearty. It's savory. It has a lot of umami going on. Okay. Again, slow and low, braised, right? So, let's think about another thing that we might use that's offal. Chicken livers. Liver in general, beef liver, right? Chicken liver. Has anybody ever eaten liver or cooked with it before? Okay, other than chef.
Oh yes, I love liver and onions.
Okay, great. So, as we know, there are many ways to always cook different recipes. What's one important thing that you do with liver? Because remember, liver is processing all of the toxins, right? Liver in the body processes toxins, right? Hormones, extra chemicals, it cleans the blood, okay? So what do we think might be important to do with liver before we cook it? Soak it in buttermilk. Yes, milk or buttermilk. What does that milk, what does soaking the liver in milk do?
It takes out the impurities.
Boom, exactly. Pulls out toxins, takes a lot of that. Okay, in that liver, right? It's very minerally, right? There's a lot of blood that it's been processing, so it has a minerality to it. It's gonna pull that out. It's gonna draw that out. So when this week, when you're making the chicken liver pate, you're gonna soak the livers, and then the next day, you're gonna see that that milk has changed color. Okay, that's pulling that out. It's mellowing out that liver, so that way when you cook it, right? Gentle flavor. What do we think about intestines? How are we going to prepare intestines for cooking?
It's like chitlins. You wash them well and clean off all the gooky on the outside.
Yep. You're going to wash and rinse and wash and rinse and wash and rinse and repeat, right? Because intestines have been processing our food, right? So, are you all seeing a common theme between offal products and preparation, it's not just a one-step process, right? It's not just throw it in the pan, sear it, baste it, braise it, throw it in, finish it in the oven, we're good to go. It takes a lot of care to know how to properly cook offal and make it a wonderful, delicious product. Chef and I were talking about how using spices and treating offal properly is one of the most important things when cooking offal. Right, Chef? Chef has a ton of experience working in the butcher's bistro, right? Farm nose to tail.
Yeah, I mean, that's, really our philosophy behind it is taking these unused products, that a lot of times at factory farming are just thrown away, and taking those in, because they do have a lot of delicate flavors. They're also very unique flavors. That's why soaking it and mellowing out, that minerally taste in livers, but also keep going on that process and adding your different hard spices, like you'll see in this week with your chicken liver, we're adding like nutmeg and other things, because you can, really, kind of accentuate that liver flavor, but also mellow it out and have some more familiar flavors so it is more approachable. That's, really, people get so scared when they hear chicken livers or tongue or all this. They're really fun, unique flavors. And if you can treat it right and present it right, that's where your money comes in. I mean, they're chicken livers, Chef Catherine and I were talking, they're cheap. They're really cheap. I mean, we're talking $1 a pound sometimes. And, at our restaurant, we would turn around and make a chicken liver pate or mousse and sell it for $3 to $4 an ounce. I mean, that's just money in your pocket right there. So you have a very, high margin when it comes to your profit and food costs and everything. So, utilizing these different parts can really expand your menu, as well as, teach people something new. That was part of cooking, and why I enjoy it is teaching people, like, what tongue can taste like and showing them different ways. So, but like going into the flavors of it, getting the soaking, making it mellow, but then also bringing in familiar flavors so people are more comfortable with it as well.
Definitely. I will say that probably I like to joke that the gateway food for offal eaters. Who likes fried chicken? I know I certainly do, right? I mean, kind of, who doesn't? Fried chicken livers. If you haven't really had any type of offal, a great way to get familiar, a little fried chicken liver. Guess what? They look gorgeous. Put a dipping sauce, add something crunchy. You start to say, okay, I get that crunchiness, I get that fried taste, that's familiar, that's comforting. Okay, it's like a really strong dark meat. Okay, it's like amplified dark meat. All right, that's kind of what it's like. So there are ways to ease yourself into the world of offal. Again, like we said, if you've already been eating, hot dogs and different sausages, you've already been having it, but maybe you just didn't know. So I'm going to show a few more photos, and then want to talk about a couple other cool things related to offal. Here are those fried chicken livers, right? I mean, you fry those bad boys up, you're good to go. Tacos de lengua. This is a popular taco that if you go to a taqueria that it has, a good turnover rate, you'll often see tacos de lengua. Those are tongue, okay? And tongue, while it might at first sound a little creepy, right? Thinking, oh my gosh, how am I gonna eat some big cow tongue? When you see a cow tongue at a store, it's huge, right? And it has a big skin over it. You've got to simmer that. You've got to take that skin off. You've got to get to the meat of it. And then when you get to it, it is one of the most finest cuts of meat out there. No joke. Absolute heaven. If you can get your hands on some tongue, go for it. Okay? Few other cool photos. Duck tongue. Duck tongue. Right? Instead of going from the big cow tongue, the duck tongue is really common in Chinese cookery, dim sum. Chicken feet. What are chicken feet full of? What are feet in general full of? What are they full of? Have you ever remember when in CU101, when you could throw chicken feet in your stock for that added gelatin and collagen? It's extremely sticky when it breaks down. It adds body to your stock. These are extremely popular street food snacks. In Philippines, they're so common that they're called Adidas for the 3 stripes, like feet, okay? That's how popular they are. It's funny, but this is how it becomes. And the first time you make chicken feet, it's kind of crazy. And then you cook them and you think, wow, this is really incredible. Now, 2 more things. Blood sausage. Who knows about blood sausage? Who's ever heard about blood sausage? Breakfast sausage, potifarron, right? Boudin noir. Guess what? Blood. Also a byproduct of a slaughter. What is blood full of? Protein, iron, minerals. Guess what almost every single piece of offal is full of? Selenium, magnesium, manganese. Trace minerals that you rarely find in actual muscle meats. B12, everything. Now, all I have to say is if we look at the top of here, we've got Spanish, Argentina, English breakfast, black pudding, Irish, Puerto Rican, Polish, Portuguese. How many more do we want? French, Mexican. What else do you guys want? Where else? Oh, Italian, Scottish. Okay, Estonian, British, Colombian. So what do we know? Oh, Finnish, Hungarian. You want more? Korean. If offal utilization wasn't prevalent in every single culture and cuisine, then there would not be a list of a blood sausage or a blood product in every culture. Just from a Google search image of blood sausage. Now, are your fillings going to be different? Of course. Are your textures going to be slightly different? Yes, of course. Are the spices that one uses going to be different for each location? Yeah. Are you going to use rice in yours to get your filling? Is it going to be more like morcilla in Spain? Okay. One more really cool topic. And I think I saw somebody talking about it. Did I see somebody mention foie gras? Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit in the chat, and why is it so controversial, which is a big topic when it comes to foie gras as well. But if hot dogs and chicken livers, all these other things contain these, why is it so controversial? So we touched on it a little bit, but go ahead, chef, and let's take a look at that, because we could probably spend a couple hours on foie gras, I'm sure.
This is why you guys know every class I'm like, I wish we had more time. We've got more to talk about, right? Food is never ending. It's incredible. I want to pull up some visuals of foie gras, but before I pull up visuals, actually while I do it, that way everybody can know and see. Foie gras is an old technique based out of the sudwest of France, right? Where they were force feeding geese, ducks, okay? Now, that sounds really terrible unless you really like to eat, right? Getting force fed sounds a little rough. However, ducks and geese don't actually have a gag reflex. So when they're force fed, it's actually going straight down their throat into their first, gullet, essentially one of their stomachs, and they start to process. It's not a painful thing. They're just really fat. And because they're eating a fat diet and excessively, their liver becomes enlarged and fatty, okay? This is a delicacy though. And it is often served in really high-end fine dining restaurants. As we can see by these presentations, this is no joke. We're talking about terrines. So this is what a whole foie gras lobe would look like, okay? It can then be broken down, made into mousses, terrines, all different types of forms. Or you can just slice it and sear it. Now, it's very, very fatty, right? This is basically almost pure fat, Okay. What do we think is really critical and important? How do we get a really nice sear on something that we know fat melts, right? So what do we think is important when cooking foie gras? When we want to do a seared torchon, a seared slice of foie gras? What's going to be our number one important technique there? High heat. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You have to have really high heat. Now, foie gras is an extremely expensive product. Takes a lot of time to raise those animals. There is a ton of controversy around it because animal advocates will say, hey, we can't treat animals like this. That's not right. Well, guess what I would say to that? How are we treating our animals in factory farms where they don't have any space to walk? They're getting pumped full that they're so fat the chickens can't actually walk, and they're just sitting around on their bellies. Is that not poor animal treatment as well? One could argue that. Remember, I told you this class is going to be a class of constant contradiction. What if I told you that there's this beautiful farm in northern New York called Hudson Valley Foie Gras, one of the largest suppliers for foie gras around the nation, where these ducks are living in a really beautiful, let me pull this up really quickly. It's gorgeous. I'll send out a video, Hudson Valley Foie Gras, Valley of a video of them and how they treat their animals so that you can see that, guess what? Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it is. Again, personal preferences. Let's see though. Let's see what we've got. Well, I'm going to send out that video, but basically this is their website, and you will see that they actually have they've got a ton of different other products, right? They're doing full utilization. They're selling a terrine of foie gras. They're selling your lobes. They're selling duck prosciutto. They're making a torchon. They're selling everything. And look, they're not even in cages. That's a lot better than the caged animals we have laying our eggs that we eat every day without questioning it. Okay, so the other part is now foie gras was banned in Chicago in the early 2000s. That law was released. It was banned in California. That law has since then been released. Has it been reinstated? We don't know. And now it has been again placed in New York, but we're not sure if it's the production or the sale of it. Do you know, Chef Bryce?
I don't. I haven't brushed up on the laws recently, but because I'm an advocate, I love it. You know, I was actually reading an article not too long ago about sustainably, kind of like what Hudson Valley does, but Pavlov dog experiment back in the day where you'd ring a bell and the dogs would salivate. So they're kind of working with new ways to, you know, get these livers fatty and like not necessarily like force feeding, but, you know, creating that natural instinct to either, you know, hibernation or, you know, with the weather and, you know, seasons like that to kind of make the ducks or geese, you know, want to gorge themselves. So there is different ways around it where we're not taking, you know, which is the controversial part, is taking a tube and putting it down a geese's throat. Like it is kind of rude, but like Chef Catherine said, there's so many other factory farms out there that are doing, you know, animals are in terrible, you know, pins and all of this. So, but once you try it, if you haven't tried it and you're not on the controversial side, it is delicious. It's fantastic. And like Catherine said, I got it served on a hot rock last time I had it. So it came out, they seared it, and then it was just like hot on the rock. And it was delicious. I mean, it melts away in your mouth. It's really fun, rich, fatty flavors. Any chef will tell you fat equals flavor. So it's quite delicious, very decadent. Don't want to eat too much of it. There's a lot of people out there that gorge themselves, and pretty sure my dad got gout because he ate so much of it, you know. So you got to be careful with it too. So good things are in moderation. But if you do see it, try it. I love it. It's one of my favorite foods.
Awesome. Yeah, if you see it on a menu, treat yourself to it. Explore that texture, that flavor profile. Also, so even if we've never had that, what do you all think might pair well with a really fatty liver? And this could be a fatty cut of anything. What do we think? What do we remember that duck and fat pairs well with? What do we need to, champagne? Well, yeah, of course. What does champagne have in it that cuts, what's one of the components in champagne that cuts that fattiness? What cuts fat? Citrus, yep. Fruit, acid, and fruit. Yeah, pickles, right? Dark berries. Okay, remember, those things help cut. So if we eat something fatty, our taste buds get tired. It hits a point where we're literally coated in fat. Okay, so then we're not tasting as much. So that's when that acid or those fruit, the berries, the pickles come in and it cuts it, or mustard, like sharp mustard, right? It cuts that, and then you can come back. Just like on a big burger, a fatty burger, right? With cheese and meat and bacon. What do we want on that? We want some pickles, right? Some acid is gonna cut that, break that apart, break it down. So we're not just overwhelmed with fat. Constantly balancing those flavors. All right, cool. Does anybody have any questions before we hop onto the class page?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And no, this is kind of a good breaking point. So can I have a question about our plants real quick?
Yes.
So I noticed on this set of plants, this is a weird time of the year to plant because it's cold. So I had to get a heating pad and check the temperature. So this round I had one out of it grow. So I replanted. Is that because we're doing it for the farm anyway, but is that okay? Okay.
Totally okay. That's so okay. We know that cats are going to get into plants. We know that it's going to be cold in some places. There's not going to be enough sun. The whole premise, and you bring up a good thing. The reason why we want you all to plant a seed and try to grow it is to understand what farmers do every day of their lives, and how that if their crops fail, what do they have? Right? When that bad weather comes in, when storms destroy crops, when it's super cold and it's not supposed to be freezing temps come early in the season, right? Changes our bounty, our harvest. That actually has an impact on, guess what? What do you think that has an impact on to us in the restaurant industry when we're buying products?
Produce costs.
Costs, exactly. Yes, right? So if we had a bumper crop, we didn't get enough in. Maybe our potatoes, actually, this is no joke. This is what happened this past year. Freeze came in early. They had a lot of North Dakota and Idaho had to pull a lot of their potatoes early this year, all right, because of the freeze. So they got smaller potatoes. Now, think about all the restaurants that are purchasing pre-cut frozen French fries, okay? And they have a specific length that they want in, because McDonald's has a box and they need those fries to stick out of it, right? So McDonald's has a specification that they've set. We need our French fries coming in from 5 to 8 inches. We don't want 3-inch French fries. We don't want 2-inch French fries, right? But if the crop only yielded French fry potatoes that were about 4 inches long, what happens? Prices change, and or the purchaser needs to make a deal, right? And say, okay, I'm okay with the smaller French fry. We know this is what's happening. Reduce the cost, change this, and boom. So, weather, crops dying, that's okay. Replant, start again, all right? If that happens to anybody else, don't even worry about it. You can start from a food scrap, like the email, the link we have on the class page, or just replant. All right, that's okay. So let's hop in and check out what we've got going on this week. I love OFL week. I love every week. Sorry, guys. I know. Just get excited. So here we are, week 7, research materials. You've got a video on chicken liver pate and crackers. All right, we're making both of those because You need something. You've got this nice smooth pate. You want something to get out a little crunch to support that, okay? So we're making crackers, but this link right here, offal variety meats, actually pretty straightforward. There's some great information in your Gislin, in your textbook as well, but this one's pretty great. You know why? Because we get this huge list of common offal from each animal, right? Species, whether it's beef, veal, liver, lamb, chicken, okay? So this is gonna give you a good basic breakdown how to prepare them. Somebody was talking about sweetbreads earlier, right? That's the thymus glands that regulate hormones essentially. They're incredible fried. Brain, how to cook it, et cetera, et cetera. I see a hand up, Daniel, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, is there a certain technique to cooking, say, liver? Do we need to soak it in milk, or is it pre?
You're breaking up a lot, but I think what I heard is, do you need to soak liver in milk? And the answer is, for this recipe, 100% yes. And for most recipes, you're gonna have a better result, especially when you're dealing with larger liver from like a beef, all right? Pull some of that out. I generally soak. Chef Bryce, what about you?
When we were making chicken liver pate at our restaurant, it was actually more of a mousse, so we didn't soak ours. So it's okay. But what we did is we actually would blend our livers with cream and eggs and all of our spices, and then we'd pass it. You know, that's going to take a lot of those impurities out. So pass it, meaning like pass it through a strainer. You know, if we could get it even fine enough to go through a coffee filter, we could, because it's going to take a little bit of those impurities out. But in this case, you know, we definitely need to soak it with the recipe, you know, because that's also part of the process. You want to see those livers release all those toxins. You want to see how that milk changes colors and what's being released. So for this assignment, I would say, you know, you definitely need to soak it, but there's a lot of recipes out there that don't. You know, going into even cow livers, I grinded those straight with my meatloaf. I mean, what a rich, rich flavor to it. I mean, people loved our meatloaf, and it's like, well, the secret ingredient is, you know, so we didn't soak those. You know, it really depends on the cooking process, and in this case, soaking is definitely key here. So
100%. So it will vary depending upon the application, but it helps. This is going to mellow it out a bit. Also, let me pull up the recipe, because one thing that can happen, as I'm sure Chef Bryce knows, when cooking liver, if you overcook it, it can take on this really grainy texture, okay? That's part of the reason for passing it, right? To get it nice and smooth. Because it gets grainy, as soon as you overcook it, it starts to take on a different texture, right? So you have to really care for liver, just like you have to care for all different types of meat. You have to care about how you cook it, the temperature, the style. Is it high heat? Is it low heat? How are we doing it? All right, so let me pull this up again, dive in. Here we go. So this is a multiple day process. So just a heads up for the chicken liver pate. As you can see, we do have a number of photos for your required photos, but let's just go right into this. Now, chicken livers. Sprinkle with salt, add to milk, cover and let sit overnight. So that's already 1 day you need, okay? But that's not a lot of cooking time, right? First and foremost, though, trim the fat and sinews. If you've got liver that has a lot of connected sinews there and fat, you want to take that off, okay? If it's already been trimmed, hey, awesome, nice, lucky you. Excuse me. But this is the first day, right? Sprinkle that on, let it go. The next day, okay, you're gonna see that milk has turned a little pink. That's good. That's when you start the next cooking process. You've got onion over here, right? Onion, butter, just lightly saute that, okay? You don't wanna caramelize that. Add the livers after you've rinsed and drained them, and the spices. Again, you're browning those livers. You don't want to cook them super hard, okay? Medium heat is okay, all right? You don't want to go super high on this. You do want a little touch of pink in that center. Again, you don't want to overcook that and get that grainier texture. You want some flavor left in there, okay? You don't want to dry this out. And then the next bit, food processor, blender, whatever you have, grinder. We're going to be adding cream cheese and a little bit of brandy or Madeira or port. If you don't have this, it really is optional, but it does add a lot of nice flavor to it. So if you don't have it around, don't worry about it. But it does add a nice flavor. And as Chef Bryce was saying, that nutmeg, the ginger, the cloves, this is what brings out and helps round out the flavor of that pate. Okay? Now, step 2. This is another overnighter. Pack the mixtures into containers and chill overnight. Why do we need to set this overnight? What do you think? What's going to happen if we just blend it and scoop it out ready to serve? What's going to happen? What are your thoughts? What do you think might happen? Won't form. Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. It's going to be thin. It's not going to set. It's not going to stiffen up. What do we know about cream cheese? Cream cheese that's been sitting out at room temperature versus cream cheese in the fridge. Butter, right? Room temperature versus fridge. Livers, a pate, room temp versus fridge. It allows it to set. It allows flavors to distribute. And you get a much better texture. So plan ahead, plan accordingly. Step 1, step 2, knock it out. Okay, let's pull up this cracker recipe and then see if there are any questions and rock out. All right, this is a really simple. We're not doing any yeast. This is just going to be basically flour, a little bit of sugar and salt, right, to just give some flavor to that, and fat, right, and water. That's it. A really basic dough. I will say we've gotten the best results out of this when you all made fresh pasta, right, before? C101, what did you do with that dough? What do you do with a pie dough? What do you do with pastry crust? What do you do with doughs in general? Roll it in the pasta, yeah, maker, of course. But what do you do before that? Let it sit. Yeah, let it rest. Okay, gotta let it rest. That's what's important. Resting is key to dough formation. Otherwise, the gluten's gonna be really tight and they're gonna be fighting with you. They're not gonna be relaxed. They're not gonna wanna roll out. So let this dough rest and relax. Pulling this back up. Here we go. All right. Because really, you're going really simple. All right. Get that oven nice and hot, by the way, 450. Sift your flour, your dry ingredients, add that fat and water and mix. It's going to be a little bit tacky. Okay. There is a video on this so you can watch it. And this is when I would say, divide the dough in 2, let it chill for a bit. Let it rest, okay? Rolling it out, okay? 1/8 of an inch thick. One other important thing. So then we're gonna brush it with olive oil. You're gonna cut into desired shape. Why are we pricking the crackers with a fork? Does anybody
So
know?
that they don't puff up.
So they don't puff up. Yes, exactly. Otherwise, you're going to get bubbles. You're going to get the heat's coming in and things are going to go wacky, right? By taking a fork and pricking it, also known as docking, D-O-C-K-I-N-G in a baking term, docking, right? Puts those pricks in that dough and you're going to get a much better end result. Okay? So be sure to dock your dough. Prick it, Oh, that's the wrong one. I wanted this. And one other important thing, bake for 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on those, all right? If they start to brown, just like that granola we made in week 4, if it browns around the edge, move them around, take the ones that are getting too dark out, okay? And importantly, put them on a cooling rack, let them cool completely before storage. Last but not least, serve that up with some pate. Maybe go get yourself, a nice chunk of cheese. If you're into wine, or like Frida, she loves champagne apparently. Grab yourself a bottle of champagne, okay? Seriously, and have a little fun, right? Pretend you're in France and you're eating pate and crackers and a little cheese, fromage and wine, and have a fun evening, okay? Does anybody have any other questions? Shan, I see your hands up. No, that was earlier, or is that something new?
Yeah. Is it okay to use Crisco instead of the butter?
I mean, you can use Crisco. It's gonna work, but I think you're gonna get a better flavor profile out of butter or olive oil, or a combination of the two. But yeah, you can. But you're gonna want it to be thin. You don't want it totally hard and fresh out of there, because otherwise you're gonna have to really work cutting it in, like when you're
Okay.
making pastry dough, and you don't necessarily want that because the recipe calls for olive oil or melted butter. So what does that mean? That fat is liquid, right? You want that liquid going in there. So if you want, experiment with it, and then you make your observation. Hey, do you think it turned out better or worse than with butter? Did you like it? Was it crispy? Did it brown too quickly? If you want to analyze it like that, you can, and check it out, Crisco. But it is always best to use the recipes provided, because those are the ones that we know that work, right? So using Crisco, you're going to have a different end result possibly, and maybe it's going to cook. Maybe your cooking time is going to change. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be totally fine. But
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I would just be careful on that Crisco, too, like Chef Catherine said, is you are working it into your dough. You don't want to overwork this dough, because when you start rolling those out, you're going to see that it's going to start here, and then it's just going to keep going and shrinking like that. So just be careful when you are working in that you're not overworking it, because you are, manipulating that gluten, and then you'll start with a cracker here, and then you'll turn away, and it's going to be back down to there. So just be careful with that. Like,
Got it. Thanks, sir.
absolutely.
Don't worry about checking the temp necessarily of the livers. Obviously, always feeling it, right, when you're cooking it, but take one out, right? You're gonna have a bunch of those livers. Cook it for a while. Watch that color develop on the outside. Watch it develop. Remember, if you're cooking it, right, we always see that it starts to cook from both sides, right, especially when flipping, and that center is gonna stay raw. Keep cooking. Take one out. Slice it in half. That's how you know, right? That's how you know. Sometimes the only way to know is to take one out, cut it.
Yeah, with that too, I mean, all poultry, 165, is that ideal. So obviously want to be sure that we are cooking it fully through. So if you do have that thermometer, don't be afraid to throw the thermometer right in that chicken liver too.
Yeah, you definitely can. But get in the center, don't hit the bottom, because chicken livers aren't that fat, right? They're not that thick. So you just want to go a little bit in and check it out, because otherwise you're hitting the bottom of the pan, right? All right, cool. Any other questions? No? All right. Last but not least, remember, offal. It's all about the money, right? Seriously. And it's trending. It is trending more than you would ever know. Okay? It's not going out of, it was out of vogue, and now it's coming back. It's here to stay. And it's a great way to make money, and it's a great way to make something in-house. So I'll be sending out some cool recipes and a little video on that Hudson Valley foie gras. And otherwise, reach out if you have questions. We are both here, and have a great week. Take care. Bye.